Hi and welcome. My name is Ben from Ableton. Thank you for coming to another deep dive event here on our Discord server. Today is a really special one. We've prepared an event focused on our new device, Expressive Chords. And in just a moment or two, we're going to hear from one of the designers of Expressive Chords, as well as an artist who's been making some music with Expressive Chords. Let me hand this over to Manav Khadkiwala, who has worked on helping to design Expressive Chords. Here we go.
Hey, thanks, Ben. Hello, everyone. I'm a UX designer on the sound team at Ableton. So I've worked on things like Roar and Rhythmic Steps, to name a few, and I also contribute towards the overall sound experience and kind of workflows across our ecosystem of products. And also make a bit of music on the side, and I've been using Live for almost a decade now. A little bit about the team that worked on Expressive Chords. So the idea for the device Marco Toni came up with the idea for the device along with Jesse Terry. So Marco is a product owner for our sound team, and Jesse heads up our hardware division. I also want to mention Matthias Neppers, who is our Max for Live engineering wizard who brought this device to life. A shout out to our content specialists, Andrew and Robert Bruce, who built some of the chord sets. And we also partnered with Render Audio, who crafted some really great chord sets that come along with this device. And of course, I was responsible for the visual design and UX side of things. What is Expressive Chords? Right off the bat, I want to say it's not a chord device, at least not in the traditional sense, because our intention was not to kind of build the ultimate chord device that sort of relies on music theory. We do serve that use case to a certain extent with our chord MIDI device, which also recently got a few updates. But we're trying not to sort of overlap with existing functionality, and this is not sort of meant to be a replacement for the chord MIDI device. And rather, we've kind of chosen to build something that's a bit more opinionated, but most importantly, something that ends up being fun and immediate. And it also kind of fills a crucial gap in the push experience where users have kind of wished for the ability to play chords for a long time. And that's not to say I'm not disparaging the approach that's kind of rooted in theory. I think there's still value in solving that problem. But I guess I wanted to kind of clarify what we were aiming for with this device, which if we were kind of going down the music theory path, it would end up being quite a different one. I think it's you can think of it as a device that kind of holds a palette of chords that you can sort of paint with. They're carefully curated and reflect a vibe or a genre or a feeling really, and they're not strictly bound by music theory. I think it's useful to think of it as almost like a MIDI sampler in some ways. Because yeah, sometimes sticking to chords that only belong to a certain scale can be a little bit limiting sometimes. Whereas our approach encourages you to kind of step outside of that comfort zone and trust your ear a lot more. So you're kind of exploring what feels right rather than what's necessarily like musically correct. How does this come into practice or come to life in practice? And we designed the device around three guiding principles. So we wanted to make it intuitive. So it should feel approachable as a tool, whether you're a newbie or a seasoned musician. We kind of want to ensure that you don't get bogged down in too much setup or admin. Secondly, of course, we want it to be inspiring. So we've optimized for immediacy and trying to sort of invoke a sense of instant gratification almost. So you can build ideas really quickly and kind of venture into unexpected sort of harmonic combinations. And the last one is around expressiveness. So we want to ensure that it feels human rather than really static or robotic. So utilizing MIDI and as well as the MPE capabilities of Push, you can really transform the chords and then the character of a chord. So a single note trigger can actually add a lot of dimensions to the chord. So yeah, that's a bit about the why and the what. The last thing I want to talk about is why we chose to use Max for Live to deliver this device. But before that, maybe I can give you a quick peek through all the different iterations that we went through for this device. And if you're confused by the name, why it says Accordi, that was kind of the prototype name that we used for the longest time. And it basically means chord in Italian. So Marco Toni, who's our product, is Italian. Um, so yeah, that was kind of you can kind of see how many iterations we kind of explored throughout this design process. Yeah, just going back to the Max for Live bit, the first part is like, of course, it helps us be really agile so we can prototype and test and deliver features fairly quickly. Uh, there's an aspect of extendability, so delivering updates that are kind of decoupled from major live releases, and we can listen to feedback and iterate and kind of provide back updates much more quickly. And it also allows the community to really extend the capabilities of the device because of it being built in Max for Live. And the last one is probably more of an internal or more applicable for us internally, but collaboration is also quite seamless because even non-developers like myself can jump into Max and sort of implement UI and test out interactions and all those sort of things. So it really kind of speeds up the process and makes it spreads the load across the team. So yeah, that was a bit of a behind the scenes of how we created this device, because that's a good segue into maybe doing a bit of a demo and showing it in action. So yeah, I'll give you a bit of an overview of the device and try and make something. I have a small example that I did beforehand as well, which I can play through maybe towards the end. So yeah, first things first, if you want to get expressive chords, you can go into your backspace here and you will see expressive chords right there. If you don't have it installed, you can also scroll down and you should be able to see it in your available packs. So just hit download and install it and it should show up. Right, from there, yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the pack structure as well. So it comes with a whole bunch of presets. I believe it's around 50 or maybe more, and each preset will have about 48 chords. So yeah, it's a lot of musical material in there. There's also the MIDI files for the corresponding presets, which I'll talk about a bit later in the session. But yeah, they basically correspond to each of the presets that come bundled with the device. So yeah, from there I can just load it in. I will also add an instrument so we can hear some stuff. Second. Yeah, so that's, we'll bring it in. And I also like to add a MIDI monitor sometimes in front of this. So if I'm using my computer keyboard, I can, kind of see which notes I'm hitting. So I don't have to, if I don't have a push, for example, I can still use my computer keyboard and keep track of which notes I'm hitting to, if I do like a chord that I've heard in there, I can take a look. So yeah, bit about the views that you see. So this is kind of the default view, which is kind of like a drum rack almost in some ways, and it matches the layout that you see on push. So yeah, it's useful to kind of think of it as drum slots or yeah, slots that hold MIDI chords. We also have a keyboard view here, so you can see the notes being spelled out. It's of course limited to 1 octave, what you're seeing here, but if I press the chord, you can see the notes with the octave numbers as well. And of course, we also, oops, sorry about that. We also have the chord name that shows up on top. Right. You can also transpose the chords. So this is a global transpose. We use the push to do that. You can also hot swap. So it's a quick way of being able to change a preset. And yeah, basically you can click on it, you see the name gets updated there. Yeah, that's how you can switch presets quickly. All right. So yeah, maybe I'll just audition a few chords from this set. That sounds pretty good. But yeah, maybe I want to start now adding a bit more character to them, and that's where we come down to these the main parameters below. So firstly, you have this tilt function that basically defines the weighting of the velocities. So positive values will kind of affect higher notes. Yeah, you can kind of tell the difference as you go. There's also an invert function. So yeah, once you you're hearing this, and I guess you can look at the keyboard view to see the difference, right? Yeah, it's just going through different voicings for a particular chord. But yeah, when it starts to get fun is when you start to add things like strum. And that's really starting to add a lot more character. So strum is also paired with this articulate parameter, which basically defines the order in which notes are played. So there's a few that come bundled with the device, and you'll hear it more obviously if I put strum on 100%. And yeah, maybe this is a good time to talk about this little fold up button here. So you have a modulation section, which I'll get to in a bit, but you also have the articulation editor. So you can kind of see the different ones that we have, and you can, of course, customize these. So maybe I'll try one myself. Oops, I'm going to change that. And yeah, you can preview it. I'll admit that doesn't sound great, but once you save it, you have to make sure you save it so it gets stored. Yes, that sounds good. I could also use this reverse function, which basically reverses the order in which the notes are played. Nice. And yeah, the last thing is this little quantize button. So it basically quantizes the notes to the closest 16th based on your tempo, of course. Maybe I can play it with a click so you sort of hear the difference. Yeah, that comes in really handy if you're like me and your timing isn't great. Yeah, it's a really nice little toggle to tighten up how the notes are played. All right. So yeah, maybe I can also quickly talk about the push layout as we get into the modulation section. So you have a bunch of modulation sources that you can use. You can use the mod wheel, slide, note pitch bend, and of course velocity as well. And this goes to kind of the four main parameters. There's also this random variation that basically, yeah, causes some randomness every time you trigger a chord. Maybe I'll use the strum. So yeah, in order to maybe start messing uh, with the modulation stuff, one thing to make sure within your push settings is ensuring that note pitch bend is on. If it's on automatic, sometimes, or I think it's a max for live limitation that it doesn't recognize it, so you need to kind of toggle it to on. And then the in-tune location needs to be set to pad as well, because push is able to tell exactly where you're pressing. That's where you can sort of start to add a lot of nuance when you're playing these chords. All right, so yeah, and of course, one more thing to mention is this the two strips on top, which seem a little bit blown out, but they're basically related to this articulation parameter here. And you can, if you press the top row, that selects the articulation. And then if you hit the bottom one, it basically toggles on the reverse order. So it's nice to be able to have it, have access to it there, and you can kind of perform with it. Right. So yeah, starting to get into some interesting territory now. One thing I like to do is mapping the slide to the strum. So let me just play a little phrase and see what that sounds like. So you can see if I'm pressing at the bottom corner of this pad, it has strum at 100%. And then if I hit it on the top, it just plays these block chords. So it's super nice to be able to transition from something like a phrase and go into like these block chords. Nice. Can also use slide to map it to the tilt amount. So that then starts to add again, like I was saying, the tilt basically changes the weighting of the velocities. So based on where I'm pressing on the pad, I'll get a bit more nuance and a bit more variation when I'm pressing them. And you can see that when slide is basically on the y-axis, but this is only on note onset, so it's not a continuous value. So it won't change the value if you're holding it down and then pressing slide. Another thing we could try is mapping it to mapping the note pitch bend to the inversions. Hopefully this should work. Second, let me just turn it on again. getting, sorry, having a bit of a technical issue, but yeah, hopefully it should work. Just gonna try and reload the device. Give me 1 second. Yeah, see it now. Yeah, so that's sounding quite interesting, and yeah, you can go quite crazy with this. There's of course the mod wheel that you can use as well. If you switch over, like make sure your touch strip is set to mod wheel, and you can use that to add more nuance and more variation. Of course, there's velocity as well. So yeah, that was kind of a quick tour of what you can do by adding some basic modulation sources and starting to like mess with the chords. Um, I can maybe also talk about these MIDI files that I mentioned at the start. So what you can do is you see this little import chords from clips function. So of course, you can do that with these chords that we provided, but you can also let me get another preset. And yeah, it inherits the name, and then yeah, you have the new chords basically. So this is super useful if you want to bring in your own material, and yeah, you can kind of record some clips and yeah, bring it into the device, and you basically have this palette of things that you can mess around with. Another thing to try out, which I will not attempt right now, but is using audio to MIDI. So if you find some nice progressions and use audio to MIDI, you could turn those into clips and then yeah, just bring them into the device. So yeah, that was a basic run through of the device. I can maybe quickly just play the example that I had. And yeah, I'm using expressive chords for the actual electric chords here. And then I've also used it on bass lines, which was something that I just stumbled upon by accident. But let me quickly just play my example. Got to turn on the channel, go back. Yeah, that's a little idea that I started, and yeah, I've already got a nice sort of bass track as well. For the bass, I again just used the same chord preset that I had for as I have for the keys, but here strum is like all the way at 100%, and yeah, I'm just playing sort of shorter notes. So if I show you the clip here. Just zoom out a bit. Yeah, you can really start to like get quite interesting results just by having the notes kind of spelled out, and you can like reverse it, and yeah, you could automate things as well, and kind of have this fake sort of bass player effect almost using this device. Yeah, I think that's where I'll pause for today. Unless there's anything else Any questions from the chat that you want to get to, Ben?
Hey, so I think we have a few questions that have come in. Yeah. Uh,
I will stop sharing.
no worries.
Sorry, Ben, I'm not hearing you.
Oh, yep. Let me fix that. Now you are. So there's a lot of questions that are mainly to do with what may come in the future. And I know you probably can't speak to what may come in the future.
Mhm.
We have some questions about could this come to Move? One thing that's probably good to point out is that you can use expressive chords with Move right now in control mode. So yeah, if you were using expressive chords in live, you can plug your Move into live and use it to play expressive chords.
Yeah.
Uh, expressive chords as it is wouldn't run on Move. Max for Live isn't supported on Move.
Mhm. Yeah.
Move might be really fun to have a chord mode one day, but we'll have to see. It depends on like priorities and what different people want out of Move. Um, this is an interesting one. So expressive chords doesn't really have chord identifiers on the slots. Is this
Mhm.
intentional to promote exploration and happy accidents, or like what's the thinking behind making the chords themselves a little bit opaque?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it was more a question of just like keeping it as simple as possible because yeah, we did try out some ideas where, say, we had bigger pads, and then you can kind of see the name for each chord, but it was more of a design choice to try and keep the first impression that you see of the device as simple as possible. And like I said earlier, it's sort of leading with your ear, and uh, because you can see the chord names here as well, you start to map it out as you're using a certain preset. You kind of remember where each chord is somehow. That being said, yeah, I guess maybe having the ability to rearrange things or place them in a certain order. You can do that with the clips that we have. So you could pick the chords that you like and then just, bring those in and maybe not be bothered with the other chords that are part of that set. So that could be another way of, simplifying which chords you want to play in if you've kind of identified them already.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that gives a bit of insight into why we made that choice.
There's a question about like maybe adding color coding to the pads. That's
Mhm.
certainly something to think about for future updates. One nice thing about this being Max for Live, well, I guess two things. One is that like it can get updated separately from live itself, so we can always continue to work on expressive chords and make updated versions of it. But also, you can unlock expressive chords and change the device yourself and make your own personalized version of it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's an interesting thought whether or not we would add color coding to the different pads at some point to help like memorize and identify them.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess there has to be some semantic relation to how we're coloring them. Like, what is the coding behind the coloring in some ways? Is it like maybe it's like minor chords or major chords or things that are custom? So yeah, it would require a bit of thinking around what the coding sort of signifies in some respect.
Yeah. Um, One other thing that could be an option, because you can make your own chord sets. One chord set that ironically we didn't include is a chord set that was like very straightforward, kind of traditional Western, like music theory style chord progressions. So we kind of left it up to you if you wanted a layout that's just like an entire row of major triads, an entire row of minor triads, an entire row of seventh chords and ninths and augmented, that like you could make that pretty quickly and store it in the device, but we like didn't include one out of the gate. I'm curious on your about your feelings on that.
Um, yeah, I think having sort of a canonical set of chords that then you could sort of easily transpose with the global transpose, and then you have, all the chords and all the keys if you wanted. But yeah, that could be an approach that where color could be applied in some ways. But yeah, I think from a customizability point of view, you can arrange it as you like because you can bring in your own material. So don't have to feel limited by just the sets that we provide to a certain extent.
Totally. There's a question about whether or not it would be possible one day to have the MIDI that is generated by Expressive Chords be printed to the track that
Or you
Expressive
can do
Chords
that.
is on rather than routed to and printed on another track.
Mhm.
Um,
Kind
this
of like
feels
a
like,
bound
what's that?
place MIDI.
A MIDI bounce? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It sort of seems like it's a tricky one because Expressive Chords is a Max for Live device. Anything is possible. It
Mhm.
then becomes a question of how much it maybe complicates the device. Does it bounce onto the current track in session view or arrangement view
Yeah.
or what?
Yeah, I think
Um,
it requires some broader thinking of how we like we wouldn't want to do it for this specific device, and maybe it's a larger effort that we think about for anything that's MIDI or anything that's a MIDI device within Live. So um yeah, I kind of like having the original because I can just record it onto a new track and then, I still have the source material if I want to go back to it, but it's a legitimate wish if you do want to kind of have those chords. I guess an alternative is again if you know the presets, then you can just go into the MIDI files and then you kind of have that quick access to it as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. So it seems like the next question is where's Kaelin? So we should probably switch over to the next part of our program. Uh, Manav, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for bearing with my sloppy playing, and hopefully this was helpful to get a sense of the device. Over
Yeah.
to Kip. Thanks.
Okay. And now, here we go. This is Kaelin Ellis.
We go. This is Kaelin Ellis.
Hello. Hey guys. Man, I'm actually very excited to be on here because the good folks at the Ableton, family. They were like, "Hey, we have this new device we think you'll dig." And actually it's funny because I got this at a point where I was like, I don't necessarily know what I'm about to do next with music because I'm just not inspired at the moment to make anything. So I messed around with it for the last couple of weeks. And if you guys, have ever heard of or know who I am, I usually go live on my streams and I love making stuff with my community, the Makers Club, and they're probably in the chat right now. But what's cool is I got a chance to mess around with this for the last like several weeks, and I've made like tons of things using Expressive Chords. And yeah, man, there's even some stuff I learned today. I learned today about Expressive Chords. Like, I didn't know about the capability until now that the articulation was literally above the push, and I actually have my push right here. So that is something I'm definitely going to be using. I also play this with this in my shows. So I guess, with that being said, I guess I'll cook up a little something if you want me to. I'm gonna open up the chat and look at it real quick. And yeah, I literally was thinking from the perspective of like, what if I just like made something like live here? So they were mentioning, I think literally the last thing you guys just said was being able to just play into like, a clip, having it like capture the MIDI and being like, okay, bet I'm gonna get the chords, click on it and then press import. But here's something that I like really dig. I play a little bit of piano. I'll say a little bit because I'm not like in every key the greatest musician, but where I'm from Lakeland, Florida, literally the center of Florida. So that's one part. But I have like this basic patch I made using Simpler and Ableton, and I'll just play a little something. But check this out. This is why I love the expressive chords device. I literally do stuff like this all the time. Like, I'll literally be on there. everything I just did, right? I'm gonna go over here to Ableton and just hit capture. Just hit capture. Now, this is the part that's super crazy. I literally like just discovered this like right before we got on, but let's say I open up Expressive. I have it literally sitting on my session right here. And I'll literally open up the session, open up the Expressive Chords, press import with this selected. Now watch this. All of those chords. Just going to crop this real quick. Boop. Those chords. Hit import. Look at this. And I'm like, hey, yo, this is actually kind of makes it crazy. So let me swap over here. Yeah. And so I'm just kind of like, this is really cool. So I have a drum loop kind of like loaded up, and I'll just play on top of that. Yeah. I'm gonna just kind of jam out real quick because it's super fun to just kind of. Woo. Oh, that's kind of tough. I'm gonna record that. 1, 2, 3, and oh, 1, 2, 3, and it's super dope because they have all these different functions. Now, this is the part that's like super killer to me. And as I've been messing with this thing, I didn't realize how cold it was until I see that in the modulation function, you can be able to map all these different functions here, like the tilt, the inversion, the strum articulation to velocity. I like stuff like this because I'm always making something where I'm trying to recall the feeling of how I played it, or at least jam out an idea. And a lot of this, by the way, is no theory. I'm kind of like winging it at the moment. So I'm gonna hit inversion with velocity. Let me slow that strum down. Actually, with the velocity, I can slow it down. I'm gonna open up an octave on that too. Ooh, that's cool. That's kind of cool. And I'm gonna capture that. And I'm not even thinking about what the next chord is. It's just kind of like based on feel. I'll lay a little bass line down for this too as well. Plus, I'm looking at the chat, so whatever y'all say, I'm just gonna. Okay, so I see what chord I'm playing. There we go. Open up the reverb on that too. I should put on a third hat. If I had a third hat, I'd put one on. All these sounds, by the way, are all native Ableton, so like nothing external going on here. But I love the fact that like even with all the chords that I just like played, I can literally go back and be like, I want to take the precise feeling or the precise MIDI and just record off of it. And I'm one of the things about like this setup, I'm kind of like a hybrid creator between like the OG sound and creation, between like how you capture all of this MIDI and all this data. I used to do a lot of like run it back through the system. Can this work in bass? Yes, it can actually. I'm actually kind of curious. Let me add this same chord. I'm gonna just drop this over here. Yeah, and duplicate it. Boop. And I'm gonna just see what happens if I play the same chords. Ooh. Turn off this real quick as well, because I'm kind of coming up with this off the dome. And if you want to mess around with the articulation, I'll record that real quick. That's cool. I want to do one more thing too. I want to add some color on top of it because I already all the chords are there. I want to add just some color real quick. So I have one more preset I can add on top of this. There's already a gospel soul preset in here, and you can actually swap out between any of these. I might do exotic R&B. That might be more fitting for this. Yeah. Woo! That's cool. I might change the inversion on that too. That's beautiful. Yeah. Put this right over here. But the whole thing that I love about this is that it's just completely intuitive. So that's like a simple way of how I like to go about using it. And actually, it's funny. Silver Rose said you should try using Expressive Chords for the next sample flip challenge. Low key, I have. Okay, and for those of you guys who don't know about my community, the Makers Club, we have these sample flip challenges where we typically create using tools like Expressive Chords. And actually, we just did a sample that's currently due at this moment. I forgot what it was called, but we made a sample and it does utilize the chords from Expressive Chords. It actually helped us kind of curate the whole idea. Even the most recent beat video I just posted, I'm using Expressive Chords in the session. And yeah, it's just an insane tool to kind of tap into. And yeah, it's just fun to use, bro. It's called Poetry Slam. That's the name of the sample. I might tweak a couple things. I want do one more passing, but I want to change those chords. This is tough. And I might actually variate. I might do a little random variation on one of these. Let's just mess around with the inversion. I just want to see how weird I can get. Let me go backwards on the strum. Even on the articulation, just get weird. I don't even. Sometimes you got to do away with just as normal as possible. Just get weird with it. Yeah, there goes the rest of my day. That's exactly how I felt when I was working on it. When I was messing with this, when I first got it, I was like, wait, I could go to the piano and just did it. And then like now I have no excuse not to have an idea when I'm messing around with Ableton to not come up with something brand new. Modulate this one. I like to get at least a little bit more variated with this. Woo! That's crazy. Yeah, and just like that. And that is that's how I use Expressive Chords. It's funny because literally I came off the recent tour I just did called Offbeat. And I had no idea what in the world I was about to like make next when I got off the road. And this literally gives me an opportunity to start making beats live during the shows. And that's been the hardest transition. All the effects, this is all Ableton. As well, if you want to tap in with like the Makers Club, the community that's also part of the chat, you can cop a sample pack in my store. I have a store called KaelinEllis.gumroad.com, and you can cop a sample pack or whatever tool. All these tools that you guys see me messing with, like even the effects, the delay, even these chords. I'll even just save this as a preset and drop it in the chat for y'all to like, mess with if y'all want to. But yeah, if you want to cop anything from my community, like my store, it gets you access to like my Discord, aka the Makers Club, and it's just full of like the most talented people ever, and majority of them are like in the chat. So I just, I appreciate Ableton for having me do this. I might actually post this on YouTube because I'm also recording this for my setup too. So we'll post this. We'll post this, but this has been fun, and I appreciate you guys for having me, man. Yeah, and I don't know where to go from here because I'm just kind of like,
we can totally switch.
Sometimes it says Expressive Chords device also. Yeah, there's a lot of options, man.
Yeah. So I might have a feedback loop now.
No.
Yes. Because I'm coming straight to you and also to Kaelin and then to you. But if there are any questions, get them in the chat. Otherwise, I feel like so many of you asked questions during the session. We can just thank Kaelin for his music and go play with Expressive Chords.
I'm very thankful to have been a part of this, and even like messing around with it. Even there, like today, there was some stuff I did not know, especially the articulation. That was a mind boggler because I kept looking at the blue on the top strip of the push. I'm like, I know they did this for a reason. I just don't know what this is. So I should have hit you guys up and be like, yo, why is this hovering blue?
There's also a really neat trick on push. Sorry. So usually when you play the MPE pads on push, you leave the tuning set to track your finger. So wherever your finger goes down on the pad, that's in tune. When you're messing around with expressive chords, you can go into the settings on push and switch it so that rather than being in tune wherever your finger drops, it tracks the different placement of your finger around the pad to determine the tuning. It means you have to, like on a normal instrument, you have to have really good finger placement to play in tune. But with expressive chords, it means that every single section of that pad can be used to articulate and modulate the chords in different ways.
Wow. Dang it. That. Oh. Yeah, with whatever updates y'all are about to do next, I know it's going to be killer. But this is, you guys solved a really great problem with this. And yeah, I appreciate you guys so much.
Hey, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, audience, for coming. Thank you, Manav, for sharing all the design work. And we'll have more deep dives for you soon. Check back on the Discord server. We have some more coming in the next few weeks. Okay? Cool. Thank you, everyone.